Okay, so what are we up to today? Well, it's Boxing Day here, the day after Christmas, and I've got a new present to play with. And we're going to be laser cutting this to work with it. But let's just move over and have a look. So we're going to laser cut that design into some MDF timber. I'm going to move up to this. This is my new furnace, and containing graphite crucible. And I managed to buy a second one, which I'm hiding well out of the way over there. Now, this is going to be an experimental idea. So I have a whole bunch of brass here. Ignore the radioactive sticker, that's incorrect. In fact, I've got lots of various types of brass floating around, but these are just the most convenient to use, and most of these have got split necks, so they're not reusable. And these are 38 specials, I believe. Anyway, the idea is to melt some of them down in here, enough to do a very small pendant. And before I go to the expense and trouble of finding, purchasing and or making green sand or casting a heap of plaster, I want to see if the method that I've been using for lower temperature stuff, like the white metal here, which is about 98% tin, I've been using that in MDF molds. So I want to see if it will actually solidify before the mold completely obliterates itself and burns into ash. I also have some of this just in case. This is water with a bit of tube so I can get well out of the way. I'm also naturally very well prepared for high temperature metal. As you might see, I'm not doing this very safely, so I will be well out of the way, although the China kindly sent me some nice suitable gloves for this. I will be putting a board down here that I normally do when I'm casting that deflects all the slag off to the back. But I will be getting well out of the way of this because 1100 degrees is a lot harder to deal with than something like 500 degrees. Although it's not very pleasant either way. But one thing I won't be doing is using my filming gloves with the hole in the bloody finger here, because I burnt myself with the lower temperature stuff. I don't want to do it with the high temp stuff. And yeah, I've got proper tongs. I can be well out of the way of this. So yeah, that's the general idea. So for now, we're going to go all the way around the other side of my shed that's full of junk. And we're going to fire up the compressor, get it up to temperature. We're going to go all the way around here, load up the job into the laser cutter, cut that, and then we'll go. Normally I would do a nice little pretty montage with all the laser cutter cutting everything, but I've done heaps of those. This one's going to be a slightly quicker video as it's just purely an experiment, and we'll see if this works. Okay, so I realized that trying to run everything here is going to exceed the total loading of this circuit. I didn't find that out the hard way. What it does mean is that I've got to wait before warming up the furnace. So while I'm waiting, I might as well be filming a little montage or a time lapse, or I don't know what the correct terminology is for this. I'm too tired to figure that out. So I'm just going to chuck this camera here in there, and hopefully I don't burn a hole in it with a laser again. So and that usually means this is the safe corner. Last time I had it in that corner, this bar come along and the beam is deflected between these 2 points. So yeah, you're going to see most stuff from this corner. So let's get on with that. Okay, we have our initial molds here. I'm just going with a fleur-de-lis because that was what I picked at random when I first started doing this. This is actually a design that I've decided not to go with for its original design, which is going to be in white metal. So I don't really mind using the molds for this. And I've taken the personalizing off it, and they should fit nicely. I think that lip around the edges, well, actually no, the lip's going to work alright. It's okay. I've got the backing piece. What I also have, let me grab it. I've also got this big hunk of steel which I thought might go in the vise to help reinforce one end. I'm going to try 2 at once. I'm going to see how we go. I'm also going to use blue tack here as the extended pouring sprue, or I don't know the actual terminology here. I'll have to work that out later. This holds up okay to the 500 degrees or so of white metal. I don't know what it's going to do under 1100 degrees, but I'm going to be well out of the way. And I'll show you a couple of precautions that I've made. I've taken my board here, which is my protection board. That's at the base of the pedestal where I will be pouring, and it's in a vise so there's a good grip on it. And that is, if you notice, taller than my shorts. So that's protecting the bare parts of my leg. I don't care if I melt holes in that. It's still better than melting holes in my legs. A whole lot cheaper at that. And I will be keeping my hands well out of the way. I'm probably going to put a long sleeve shirt on when I do this. Also be wearing the heavy gloves. I've loaded some of the cleanest 38 specials in here that I could find, and also some with big cracks in the side. I'm not wasting anybody's valuable brass by melting them down. Yeah, I've got to get prepped. I've got some tools I got for Christmas. I've got to hang them up on the tool board and get them out of the way. I'm just taking the time to have a good think about how I'm doing this, because it's the first time. It's potentially quite dangerous, so I'm trying very hard. I'm also thinking about ventilation. Some genius, the last person to rent this place, glued these shut with bloody plum seal or something strange stuff like that. It took me most of the afternoon with a paint scraper to get them apart. Now the airflow is coming towards me. I might take my ventilation fan over here and take the outlet from this and swing it round the corner and face it towards this to try and induct some airflow out that way. In the future, I've got another one of those fans. I'm going to mount that in a weatherproof box outside and have suction through that. So, but for now, this should hopefully work. I think it's about time to turn everything on. Alright, moment of truth. We turn everything on. And it looks like we've got this here. And it's just turned on. And I think this is what our temperature is at 1100. If I recall correctly, we go set. We change our digits of temperature. I think 1100 is fine. It's currently at 21 degrees C in there. But it's turned on. Everything's happening. Made in Italy. Well, I know where I bought this from, and I got it from AliExpress direct from China. So that is probably a load of BS. But yeah, we'll see how we go. Doesn't appear to be very warm yet, but let's just close that down. I understand these things take quite some time to warm up, so that can sit there and do its thing for a while. While it's doing that, I'm going to get some other stuff prepped. Okay, next thing to get prepped is eye protection, because even though I wear safeties or prescription safeties all the time, they're not quite as safe as these ones. These cover all the orifices. And despite what my immune system thinks with its multiple sclerosis shenanigans, I actually do like seeing things, and I do kind of need my eyesight. So unlike last time I went to Melbourne, the stress of that trip and sardine class travel, that caused me to lose half the eyesight in my left eye for a while, and a week of hospital with immunosuppressants, and I sort of got most of it back, but there's still a few little sparkles in one corner. It's a pain in the ass. But anyway, I don't want to go there again permanently, so safety goggles it is. Okay, so I've got everything coated with graphite. I've just worked it in with my fingers, so it's now on everything, making sure this is right into the details this time. This, I found, graphite was the difference between my molds gassing off and making bubbles and crap in everything to actually getting a nice smooth finish. It did seem to provide a bit of thermal protection as well. I don't know how well that's going to work this time, but I'm pretty well going into this expecting to fail, but I don't know for sure till I confirm that. So sort of a bit of pessimist / scientific approach here. Anyway, now that I've got these done and I can't pick them up because my fingers are too bloody slippery, shake the excess off them. I've worked that in real good. We're going to assemble them, and I'm going to use some of these screws. So let's get that happening. But wait, there's more. A free set of steak knives. In this case, a Leatherman. One little trick I've learnt with this is to get the air gap out of them. I've had to do a few scrapes with a knife just to let some air out because I haven't left a venting sprue in these. And I rarely do for such small things. I rely on just having a fairly hefty amount of metal sitting on top. I might not be able to get away with this with brass, and it's probably not as dense as the metal I'm used to dealing with. So yeah, these little scratches usually provide enough of an air gap to let the air escape between the sides of the mould. Okay, we have our moulds assembled. Now, traditionally I would use all of these holes. The main purpose for them is to align the mould. What I think I'm going to do is just put these two screws in the top. I'm going to sit it in the vise and let the vise act as a bit of a heat sink, and that also gives me room to put that steel plate on the back. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see across the workshop, but I think it's reading about 500 degrees. Let's go for a wander. We'll pick up our graphite and our mould, go for a walk across the workshop and see what we're doing. So we're looking about 520 degrees at the moment. Alright, so we'll put everything down, we'll get our prepped, and then we'll see what's going on under the lid. Alright, we've got a bit of smoke / gas coming out through the vent hole on the top. So clearly things are getting warm in there. It's also probably time to sort out the ventilation, I think, because I'm pretty sure brass fumes are not great, not to mention all the other stuff that's probably in there. They've got primers and everything with them. Pretty sure the primers are steel, and I don't recall if steel floats on brass or sinks. I'll have to look up the density of that. Okay, so one noteworthy thing I've just noticed, this cable is noticeably warm. It's about 30 degrees. And that's just a cable I had floating around, so it's probably not quite rated for it. I'd say this unit is pulling a full 2400 watts, especially given it how quickly that temperature is rising. So yeah, I'm just rethinking how I'm going to induct some air out. I think I'm going to grab a battery fan, because I think I'm probably pulling almost as much as that power point will give out. So yeah, I'll have to probably get a heftier lead at some point. I'm going to go get a battery fan. Started to prepare a few things. I've got my battery fan working away there, which is sort of working. I can see a bit of black smoke rising, which you probably can't see on the camera. In this angle you may or may not see it. But that is tracking most of the air out, and I can't smell the pungent smell anymore since I've done that. So I'm happy. Bit of duct tape and a resonance hammer and craziness, but it's working for the moment. I've got to come up with a better solution for that. This handle's not too hot to touch. We are seeing that crucible start to glow now. The brass hasn't dropped down in there yet, but I'll give that a mix once we start getting closer to the temperature. Although we're not too far off, we're about 950 degrees at the moment. I am using Blue Tack as a pouring sprue, but I'm taking the extra precaution of having this steel mesh around here. That's a like DIY bracket making kit, but what it does mean, when it overflows, it can overflow through here, and I've rotated my vise on the post so that it's facing away from me. I've got sawdust here. I'm going to put a little bit of water on the sawdust so when it hits it doesn't burst into flames. I've added an extra shield here just in case. I've tried to keep everything as controlled as I can. I know I seem a little jittery and a little bit inexperienced at this, but that's because I haven't done anything quite at this temperature before, and I have been told, and I know from experience, that things like this can go wrong pretty damn quick. So in keeping with my mother's teachings, who is certified to emergency management, a member of the Australian Institute of Emergency Management, according to her, any disaster is not one event, it's a chain of little events. So I'm working here to try and break as many chain links as I can in the hope that nothing goes wrong. I've left this sit since I've had it until I've had the presence of mind to do this properly. So yeah, let's go and get set up. Alright, we're currently at 1074 degrees, and the brass has just started to drop in from the top of the crucible. I've heard a big crack that could be relays clicking, or it could be the crucible breaking. I really don't know at this point. but I'm going to open it up and give it a bit of a stir. I'm not going to move my camera setup from now because I'm probably going to need to move quickly. Right, so I dipped my mixing rod in, and I've definitely got molten liquid in there, or molten brass, and it come out red hot. I think I'm going to have a crack at pouring. I've got my safety goggles on, got my gloves on. I'm going to have a crack at this and see how we go. Oh, we've got a bit of stuff burning off the top here as well. Alright, this will be fun to see how it goes. First ever time casting brass, and I need to get my crucible around the right way. Alright, here we go. The bright red. Here we go. Yep. I definitely had instant flame. Alright. Now to go and put out the spot fires in my workshop floor. Turn the furnace off. I'm going to let that gas off for now. Spot fire control. Luckily most of them went out when they hit the moist sawdust. It's looking pretty good there. And I think there was a lot of stuff went everywhere. Oh, I've got a good pour. And the blue tack I think held up. It's looking pretty good. The blue tack actually held up. I'm shocked. I'm really shocked. And it looks... my mould survived. The actual moulds didn't catch fire. That is shocking. That is really, really shocking. It actually bloody worked. I hope the mouldings come out well. I'm getting excited now because it's the first time I've been excited in quite a while. Now, should have brought a water bucket in to tip out the rest of the stuff. I have this old aluminium pot. Let's put my other glove back on. Alright, this is going to be a slightly long cut for this section. I just don't want to leave things sitting as they are. So, let's put my crucible out. I won't tap this. I just want to get everything out of here that's left. It has that for a hot crucible. That's graphite. Wow. I don't want to get too much oxygen in there in case something flashes over. It looks pretty good in there. Alright. I'm just going to let that to cool down naturally. I'm not going to try and accelerate that at all. Alright, so what have we learnt? Well, the Chinese furnace melts brass. That's a good start. And we've got some of that here, some of the molten brass. We also know that blue tack doesn't lose its form at 1100 degrees Celsius. I am really shocked at that. It's very hot and very soft at the moment, but not unusually so. And I took the time to put all my hands and all my tools at arm's reach before I started. I'm probably going to throw this bit of blue tack out. It's the most burnt I've ever seen it. That bit of brass, I don't think the brass penetrated into the mould itself. There's a bit of burnt stuff in there. It might not have been hot enough. But I do have a bit of recycled brass here anyway. So that's good. Probably just didn't have enough brass. Yeah, alright, we're going to cut this here. I'll wait for everything to cool down and then I'll dismantle the moulds. Let's see what we learned here. Well, I've got a little bit of this in the mould. We'll tip that out. It's not terribly hot right at the moment. I'm just looking at the way the mould behaved. This is all very much a test. And something just fell off my vise over there. Look, I reckon it's held its shape long enough. Probably would work. How'd the other side go? We got a little bit in here. So what I think's happening is when it's hit, it's produced so much gas as it's hit. It's pretty much just forced everything back out the top. And I probably didn't quite have enough brass to do the whole lot. But look, this is actually kind of promising. I might get some kind of a result out of this. I might have to cut the engraving a little deeper, but it warrants further investigation in either case. So we can see here in the middle, yeah, it didn't really hurt it too much. You can see right on the top it burnt the absolute crap out of it, but yeah. Alright, there's some possibilities here. Although I am thinking I'm probably going to end up making masters and casting them in plaster or something like that. But it's a good experiment. I'm not going to try anything more for tonight. I'm going to go back to the drawing board and have a think. But all in all, that furnace didn't take all that long to get up to temperature. Probably because it's using every last skerrick of power it can on that lead. But yeah, so we've got a bit of a burnt mess at the moment. But it will melt brass. So yeah, that's interesting. Now I'm going to go back and double check for spot fires, anything that might have relit before I leave, just in case my shed burns down in the middle of the night. We really don't want that. But yeah, I'm going to call this quits. And look, leave us a comment if you've got any interesting ideas or if you've had experience with this. I'm quite willing to consider your advice. So yeah, because I'm trying to develop a way to get my laser cutter to make my molds for me, rather than have to make masters and positives and negatives and go through a whole bunch of extra steps. One of the main things I like about white metal is that you can do fancy stuff and do very fine details with straight out of the laser. So I might have to find a more durable material that will still laser cut. So anyway, guys, I'll see you next time. This has just been a quickie experiment video. This thing's taken its sweet time to cool off, so I thought before I run away I might have a crack at cleaning up what I did get out of the mold and just see if I can get a bit of shine on it, and just exactly what it takes to work with. I haven't done a lot of working with brass, so I'm going to try this out. Lighting's probably quite horrible here, but I just touched the top of this up on the rag wheel. Let's bring my lighting over a little bit here. Just touch the top up to see if it would shine up okay, to see if there are any inclusions. Well, it melted quite well despite the fact that I didn't use any borax or flux or anything like that. I also didn't scoop any of the junk off the top. So that's not too bad. This might even work as a good ingot, but it polishes up beautifully on the rag wheel. Beautiful and shiny. So I think if I can make a ring out of this, it'll look really nice. It'll be much more durable than the white metal. So guys, it's the end of this video, but yeah, by all means comment away. I'm going to leave comments on for this one, and probably get some trolls, but shit happens. Alright, I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully it'll be something useful.